Some of my best character designs end up coming from art challenges. And truthfully, this one's no different. Yes, I hosted an art telephone, though the goal this time around is to intentionally encourage its transformation with each pass. With only 5 minutes to view an artwork, the participants will only have their first impression to go off of, before having to complete an illustration in just 6 days. To provide some additional inspiration, I also introduced a wheel that essentially works as a bonus prompt for them to work with. You can pause here to see all the entries. By the end, I'll be making a final character reference, as well as a bunch of lore, all inspired from each submission seen here today. Before we begin, I wanted to announce that I will be returning to streaming. You've probably never caught one before, but this summer, I'll be focusing on final art fight prep, as well as streaming the entirety of the event during July. If you don't know what Art Fight is, go ahead and check out their About page here. My first stream back is going to be a Twitch exclusive on June 18th at 5 p.m. EST. Thanks for listening. Let's go ahead and get started. There was 2 things in my mind when I began my piece. 1, I wanted to do something challenging with foreshortening, this being seen with the way the hand reaches out. 2, I had to satiate my hunger for something dark and glowy. So I started off with a dark blue background and immediately brought the pop with magenta, one of my favorite colors. I didn't do any prior design work for her, it was just me jumping straight into an illustration hoping that things would come together. She had this vacant yet intense expression, and because of the way she was reaching out, it kind of made me think about her being after something. So she became something of an assassin or bounty hunter in my mind. From that, I considered the idea of inevitability, like no matter where her target would go, she'd catch them. The sand was originally added because I wanted something vibrant being held, though now that I had a bit of direction, I ended up adding an hourglass as a key item, something that would contribute to my concept, plus giving that idea of running out of time. Her outfit is simple yet flexible, and because of the dubious nature of her work, I decided to give her a mask early on to help her hide her identity. When it comes to the lighting, I used red to push the idea of danger, magenta for intensity, and purple for mystery. I'm very happy with how it turned out, though her character of course is still in a fluid stage. Hamu is a wonderful Twitch streamer who makes gorgeous artwork and has a very comfy personality. As you saw, he ended up with detail, which said, focus on one part of the design and enhance it with extra details, patterns, or intricacies. Hamu mentioned how this was definitely a challenge for them, especially with memorizing something, though having a color palette and being able to take notes was very helpful for them. I love the detail he put into the pants, as well as how glowy the final result ended up being, namely with the eyes and scars. I love the broken hourglass and the work that was put into the background. With just 1 week, this was such an amazing piece. There's one thing I noticed though, it looks like there's this tooth decoration that's hanging from the mask. In my version, it was meant to be a hairpiece, though this was definitely a fun detail to see here. If you like indie games and a retro arcade aesthetic, you should check out Roshan Galaxy, a variety streamer on Twitch. She ended up getting animalistic, which said, blend in a trait from the animal kingdom, ears, claws, tails, wings, or other beastly features. Roshan mentioned how she kept it subtle by introducing some reptilian traits that were inspired from the character Orochimaru from Naruto. Am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. I've never seen it. But yeah, the hands became more claw-like and her eyes changed to be widened with these slit pupils. I thought this was pretty cool because it kind of added to that whole being hunted idea. I noticed how the outfit ended up changing a lot. it taking on more of a ninja feel from the cut of the shirt to the sandals she wears. The broken hourglass theme persists, though this time it's in the background. There's this little pathway that's made in the sand, and it kinda tells a story here. Like, she was the one who broke the glass. Finally, Roshan added the text, "Use your time wisely," really solidifying that concept. Roshan captured that deadly vibe for sure, and honestly, she did such a great job here. Ray Spark, my gosh, do you need to check them out. They're an artist and VTuber rigger who does tutorials on YouTube and art streams over on Twitch. Ray ended up getting detail, and here's the description as a reminder. She ended up doing a colored sketch immediately and said she spent the rest of her time making adjustments and adding their own flair to it later on. She also mentioned how it was nice not remembering as it let them do something fun. So let's talk about the details. She now has a Roman numeral belt with a mask that has an additional clock motif. The glove she wears now has this net pattern, and there is additional arrows on her sleeve. Beyond that, the outfit and haircut remained pretty consistent, as well as the claw-like hands and slitted pupils. One cool detail were these double-pointed tails that kinda gave a demon-like vibe to it. Miso is a bunny VTuber that does art and gaming on Twitch. She's a great yapper, and I personally find their streams to be pretty comfy. This is kind of funny, but she ended up getting detail as well, which I'll put up here now. She did a great job at capturing the placement based off what she received, and overall, I'm pretty impressed with the accuracy. Same outfit, sharp nails, and overall vibe. The hourglass contents had more of a goopy look to them with the shine, and I'd say she has more of a calm expression given the way her eyes were drawn. And also, her mask features now a full Roman numeral clock, and she actually has a bunch of piercings now. Pretty cool! Lee Spade is a period VTuber and streamer on Twitch who does a lot of art. He's even a big enthusiast of art fight as well. He ended up getting corruption, which was to distort the design with eerie, glitched, or monstrous elements. Something's not quite right. ... Yes, if you didn't catch the warning, this one is pretty saturated if you have any sensitivities to that. Okay, so I really love the style and detail that was already shaping up just from the sketch. Lee went all out with the detail, and the effort didn't stop there as the work he put into the rendering was phenomenal as well. Just from my impression, I feel like corruption was more of an interesting wheel result that basically just said, yeah, go all out, do it, and yeah, he did it. I'd say this was a big turning point for the evolution of this character design, and it really got me thinking about the nature of this character and what that goop was. Our last person is RGB's Stasis, an artist on YouTube who loves character design and making stories. I highly recommend you check out her channel. RGB ended up getting detail, which metaphorically broke me because 4 out of 6 people got that result. It just kinda goes to show how randomness doesn't necessarily mean spread out. That aside, here's the story. A good chunk of time had passed after she looked at the previous artwork, meaning she kinda had this bonus challenge going on with the memory game here. Even with that though, just from seeing the time-lapse so far, I say it still captures that vibe really well. If anything, the changes came from the hair primarily, and otherwise the colors were toned back down a good amount. The binary code goo and mask still persisted, as well as the background elements. This was such a fantastic way to conclude the chain, and yeah, in the comments, go ahead and let me know which one was your favorite. They say the simulation's dead, an abandoned archive of obsolete code left to rot in a digital stasis. But when you jack in, you'll find that it's not empty. You'll find her. Kara is a string of code that gains sentience thanks to the corruption of a lost simulation. A careless experiment of the past. At first, she was nothing. Simply one with the binary code that populated this void. Though in time, a strange life began to take shape. New entities were born, and even strange landscapes came into existence, all senseless and bizarre. One day, someone plugged in. A person. A woman with 2 long braids and dyed hair. She was a new employee who was tasked to sort through the abandoned projects of her employer. Out of curiosity and, frankly, boredom, she decided to directly interface with this unidentified simulation. 2 things happened. 1, a new surge of data suddenly flowed into this otherwise formless world. And 2, Kara had awoken. Memories and visions echoed throughout, and an intriguing life form caught her attention. The code waited and listened, and it understood. This woman would leave, and this world would be destroyed. Unless, of course, Kara interfered. In fact, wouldn't it be nice to become this woman? Wouldn't it be nice to have memories of her own? In the end, her dream did come true. Kara was able to trap and integrate with this intruder. Her body was now this strange mix of digital and physical. She was no longer this omnipotent being, and instead, she felt grounded and vulnerable, something separate from the world around her. But she knew this was her home, and she knew she'd do whatever she could to maintain it. Okay, I could honestly keep going, but I'm going to summarize some of the ideas I had. 1, I decided the goo would be kind of like sober slime from Homestuck in its pacifying effect, though it also worked to basically pause and delay corruption. Because of the woman's memories from when she plugged in, some normality was brought into this landscape, and it took on a sort of laboratory twist in some locations, namely with these giant containers of goo. I imagine that this simulation would come to have a haunted and cursed sort of reputation on the outside, given the rumors that have spread about this now comatose woman in the outside world, plus future interactions with those who plugged in eventually. Anyway, Kara basically took over the body, right? Though the thing is, she still has this other side to her that's honestly more prone to corruption than the physical side of her is. And this would be reflected with this sort of pending progress bar of sorts, where if she doesn't submerge herself in goo frequently enough, she'd gradually corrupt more. That's why there's this little shadow behind her, something that would have otherwise taken over if not for the body that was being occupied. She's basically like a split personality, one that's working to preserve the simulation and herself, and the other that wants to pretty much let destruction take its course, and to perhaps even escape to the outside. Something that's theoretically possible thanks to the body that's still technically out live in the outside world. Kara specializes in setting traps and would come to have this sort of rewind and fast forward ability when she tags specific targets. This being like a little clock that would be marked on their skin that'd allow her to manipulate their memories or physical location. She'd worked to capture more chaotic entities that existed in this simulated world, and similarly store them in goo to pause their corruption, something that happened much more quickly for them than her. You could say she's good in her efforts to protect her world, though for an outsider coming in, she's definitely a lot more antagonistic and potentially unpredictable given the influences of her shadow counterpart. I'd say the main conflict for her is whether it's worth preserving anything, or if she's just delaying an inevitable destruction. And even if that was the case, what's stopping her from allowing herself to just corrupt fully? Or why resist the possible escape from this dying simulation? Also, there's that whole problem with the fact that Kara literally stole someone's body and mind. I don't think she feels too bad about it, though you gotta wonder about the woman who might still be in there somewhere.